I wonder, is anybody hearing a lawnmower background noise, or am I quiet enough?
No, you're coming in strong. I don't hear a background noise
Okay,
though.
that's good. Thank you.
No, I think it's all good. All right. Well, since Rao's audio is uh, okay, let's go ahead and get started with the technical update.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share the link to the latest update. Give me a second. Okay, so there's the link in the chat, and I'm going to share my screen. I think you should be able to see my screen with Community Update 121. So basically we are, in terms of releases, everything remains about the same. The 0924 is the latest released node version. And that primarily is the mainnet observers are running that, and the 0923 LTS with some fixes to 0923 is what the mainnet validators are running. And then to look at the details of what is in each of those, the links are provided in here, the for 0923 LTS and the 0924. In some observer nodes, we are testing some of the newer changes that we've been working on, but that's not anything that would impact the actual behavior of the mainnet. So that's where we are in terms of releases. The main focus right now is still continuing to work on and finish the last finalized state, hardening the mainnet, improving the performance where possible. And we have, for now, completed the API improvements, mostly driven by exchanges and what they need in the observer nodes and exchange nodes. So that's overall focus. One of the main things, I'm kind of now switching to this current work in progress section. In the last week and a half or so, or about a week, in the last week, we ran into an issue on one of the validator nodes being slashed, and this happened only on the one node. And what is this node runs on a different infrastructure from the rest of the nodes. So we are investigating what the underlying issues are, obviously because the infrastructure is different and it happened only on that one node, where that's one of the suspects, the infrastructure. But it could very well be some code issues or something like that. So we are quite focused on resolving that issue. Basically, it's a tuple space error, or tuple space mismatch error that we're getting over there. We're looking into both the code and the infrastructure changes. I mean, the code is the same, but we're seeing if there are any bugs in the code that are causing this, or what the infrastructure changes might be that could be causing this. And related to that, one of the things we're doing is to try to increase the diversity of cloud providers in what we have. And I'll speak to that a little bit more later, but so that in case there is some behavior in the network that's different on different infrastructure, that we would be able to identify such behavior early. And then we also have to put in place a strategy to handle any such errors as to, how do we deal with it? Obviously, if we see severe behavior with certain infrastructure, we may say initially, okay, that infrastructure is not good, is not part of the recommended spec. but mostly it should work across infrastructure, and that would be our goal to create both testing and remediation measures or recommendations based on that. Obviously, we will never get 100% coverage on all infrastructure, because when you think about it, it's a decentralized network. Anybody could run this on any hardware, software, network infrastructure that they would have. So it's not the goal that we would have full coverage for all of that, but at least we want to understand what issues are visible, and then manage or eliminate all the issues that we can at least find a priority. That's the part of that exercise. So that has deviated the effort a little bit in terms of being focused on that. As far as the last finalized state work is concerned, but both tracks are continuing in parallel at this point in time. And I think last week I said block merge, we were getting close to doing the spec. So the design discussions, 2-3 levels of that are all complete. And Tomislav is right now writing up the spec on that. One of the other things we accomplished this last week is improvements to the CI environment. We were running into some issue on GitHub where some of the tests are failing, and GitHub wouldn't tell us what it was and where the issue was. But you'll see that pull request 2936, we adjusted the CI environment parameters to complete the integration test. Now we're not seeing that problem. One of the things that was done was to decrease the JVM memory footprint, and so that on GitHub we're not using too much or unlimited amount of memory, because we suspected maybe that's kind of what's causing GitHub to fail, even though they were not able to tell us really what was causing it to fail. So it seems like, at least for now, with the CI improvements we put in, the tests are all going through fine. We did parallelize all the Casper tests that were taking a long time before. So that's also done. So the main piece of work, other than this slashing bug, is the last finalized state. The two PRs there are the 2934 and the 2935. 2934 creates an abstraction over LMDB, key value store with manager, that can be used by our node. And 2935 basically is DAG store implementation using that abstraction. Those are the two main PRs. They are done, but we have to now finish the migration logic from the current file storage to this new structure, new abstraction that we have. So Tomislav had demoed earlier the key value store with manager, the 2934, what was created. So I invited him to speak a little bit more to how it's being used for DAG storage, as well as the implications and the relationship to the Casper state, which is also being managed in this new structure, or will become. We did some part of the work there, and it'll be more of that in future. So that's where we are on that. This gRPC delays issue actually is completed in the testnet. Gurinder is working on putting the gRPC proxy on the mainnet. And I already spoke to this tuple space error that we were seeing that also caused the slashing behavior. The next two, especially the one on the improvements to last finalized state, there's nothing new there. I just left that text to remind people, if they're just reading this this particular version of the community update and not the earlier version, so that they understand what this last finalized state effort is all about, and why it's important, and what it does for RCHain. So that's what that is. I said earlier that we are adding diversity to the infrastructure in terms of the number of or different kinds of cloud providers. Where we are now, we have some nodes running on the IBM cloud at this point in time, and we're just running the observer nodes over there. We might run parts of the testnet over there. And we're looking at the potential to include Oracle Cloud also in there. Now, with both of these, we also get the benefit of cost reduction. I think the IBM Cloud, at least whatever we got so far, is free for a year, and we're hoping to get more from them. And then the Oracle, at least the claim, we have to dig into the detail on that, is that it'll be 70% cheaper compared to other clouds, is what the claim is. So we're looking into that for 2 years. So there may be some cost savings there, but our motivation beyond cost savings is really the diversity of the network, trying to run our node in multiple and as broad a number of environments as possible, so that we identify any issues as to what the network stability and the network security, all those things would be. So that's kind of what we're pursuing over there. We have also started moving from Jira to GitHub for the development team. We're creating templates for use by the development team. In addition, Tomislav has done a nice page where community can report issues, bug reports, requests for documentation improvement, or security bugs with a template for each. So you click on the appropriate button, and then it takes you to the right template. You fill it out with the supporting data. The way the security bug stuff is set up right now is that that data would not be public, meaning you can report, anybody can report, but it's private. It goes to a private place where we can look at it and resolve the issue. That's how that is set up. Maybe Tomislav, when you speak, you can kind of show that screen, how that's looking at this point in time. So, but it should be ready in a few.
Yeah, we still don't have the page for that, and GitHub only accepts the page and not some kind of email. So.
Yeah. Okay. Then documentation work. Obviously, there's a lot that needs to be done, especially as new developers are coming on or willing to help. So we could use some help from the community. We're going to do whatever we can, but we're kind of shorthanded at the moment. So any help the community can provide there with the documentation would be more than welcome. Then just a shout out to Tomislav and the plugin for Tuesday teach outs. Tomislav is trying to get people more familiar with the code base so that they can chip in whatever parts of the code base they, based on their backgrounds, if they're coming from a database background or a particular language background or anything at all, they can help in there. So that's kind of where we are with those are Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Eastern in Jim's room. In terms of the backlog, it's much the same as what I discussed last time, except this second bullet about enabling more Casper tests and resolving any issues that we identify there. So what that means is that there were some tests that were disabled earlier because they were taking too long or whatever, but now we have resolved some of the issues. And also with the last finalized state, things are a lot cleaner. So we should be able to enable some of those tests and resolve anything that those tests reveal. And that also has an impact on the block merge effort in a couple of different ways. Basically, block merge is about identifying a conflict set and resolving those. And by enabling more tests, we may first of all reduce the conflict set. That would be a good thing. The other impact is that because we would be doing this bug fixing and the implementation of the block merge logic sort of simultaneously, we anticipate that even though the core block merge logic is simple and may not take very long, doing that and the bug fixes together would potentially take a little bit longer than what we were thinking earlier. So that's the overview as far as where we are technically and what we found out and what we're working on in the last week. Now I want to invite Tomislav to speak to a little bit more about the relationship, I mean the work basically that's going on in the last finalized state and the block store, DAG store, and Casper state and all of that. Before I hand over to him though, are there any questions that at this point in time? Okay, over to you, Tomislav.
Oh, thanks.
I can stop sharing if you want to share your GitHub screen.
Yeah, I can show. So basically, on a GitHub repository, we can create templates, and we can create some additional input for users to fill out this different issues that they want to report. So we have just ask a question, debug or improvements. So one thing that we want to say to users to go to RCHain repository for additional improvements to platform. So for all of these things, this is like a first version that we want to push, but for any other suggestions, you know, you can create an issue and say to us how can we improve, and I can show how this looks like. For example, to report a bug, we have some questions that we want to from users to fill in, and we are just guiding what kind of information we are expecting. So this kind of thing.
Yeah, and the thought process is that you would do bug reports and documentation requests and all that over here, but if it's a new feature request, that it goes as an RCHain improvement process. That was the fourth bullet over there.
Yeah,
and that's a different repository.
And we are creating information on this repository also, and we don't have templates for now. So you will see just empty issue. So we want to also create templates for our RCHain proposals. And now that I'm talking about RCHain related to this slashing that we had on the mainnet. So this can also be reported as a part of RCHain, some kind of event that we want to store, because this is something that now gives us some difficulty, because now we are in the situation that for the first time we need to update the nodes, but not just the node itself, right? This problem that we have with slashing. So there was a problem that node slashed because of some kind of error. It can be the hardware and also can be the bug. But we also have a bug that is now creating slash and deploy in every block. And this is something that we were working the last week. And the problem that we are facing is how to update the validators nodes and all other nodes, and so that they can recognize these blocks before the fix and after the fix. And this is something that we don't have solved, and we are now trying to figure out how to do this correctly. And you know, this is something that give us like difficulty to proceed. Related to a last finalized state, this is also pushing us to make some additional changes to the DAG storage and to the block storage. One of the things is to move to LNDB, but we also have problems how to manage different views on the DAG. So additional to just moving to LNDB, we will rewrite how DAG storage and this DAG representation, the DAG view, how it's working, and this is also cause to make some changes on Casper. So basically, we are just running into more and more issues that we need to take care and refactor. So basically, this is what I want to say. If someone has any questions, please ask.
I guess I wouldn't characterize it as running into more and more issues. I would characterize it as there, with a system like this, there are a lot of dependencies, and whenever we tug on one thing, we tug on multiple things, and we sort of have to make sure that we pick up all the threads that are affected. So it's not like we're swimming in technical debt and we just have to get rid of, you know, we have to keep rolling the ball uphill because we're inundated with technical debt. Rather, we're sort of taking the time to clean things up as we go.
Yeah. And what we see now, these problems that we see with file storage, and this is exactly what we want to address.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, are there any questions on any part of the technical debrief at all? All right, over to you, Greg.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, and I actually am very heartened by the work that we're doing. Obviously, when we do have bugs that affect either, you know, external validators or the exchanges, we have to prioritize those. And that's been driving the schedule as we've been dealing with those higher priority bugs. But we're doing so with an eye to how that fits into the overall release schedule. So I want people to be aware of that. Moving on to other items, the board did agree to extend the voting period. So please get your votes in. We'll post the date, the final date, but we do want, you know, engagement from the community. This is really important when we're talking to investors, and we are talking to a potential investor just this afternoon. When we're talking to investors, we need to be able to point to projects that are, you know, that the community is excited about, that are things that might be pursued in terms of building on top of the platform. So it's showing the community engagement with respect to all of these potential projects and the community's sense of what their priorities are. is very helpful when we're talking to investors. So if you want to do one small thing to help the co-op with this investment, please go and vote on these projects. Any questions about
I
that?
just want to add, I mean, I think most of the people on the call may already know the projects that Greg is talking about are the DAP Ideas, or the competition that we were running as the Ideathon, and the DAPs that came out, that surfaced from that initial shortlist. There are 6 of them, and they're in the DAP Ideas channel on the RCHain. So if you go in there, you'll see a spreadsheet where you can vote.
Exactly. Great. So any questions or comments about that? All right. Moving on. As I said, we'll be talking with some potential investors this afternoon. We have also sent out the cease and desist letters to the folks who are potentially infringing or definitely infringing our trademark. So that's going out. More details on the Friday sessions, but be aware that that's happening. And I want to put a plug in for the RCast. So we're doing an RCast recording this afternoon. We were going to do it this morning, but I ran into some family issues, so we rescheduled it to this afternoon. So that will be out probably later this week. So please give give a listen if that's interesting to you. We will be talking about the process of typification. So this is the idea of lifting things, lifting computational specifications like row line code up to types, and sort of the advantages that has for the whole RCHain family of technologies. So if you're interested in the technical side of RCHain, please give a listen. I think it will show more of the value proposition associated with Ladle. All right, I think that's all I've got. Ian, Rao, anything else we needed to mention from the board discussion?
I think that's it.
Okay, believe next week is a non-special board meeting, a regularly scheduled board meeting. So we will have an agenda, I think, that's available for the community. That said, I hope everyone is staying safe, staying healthy, and look forward to seeing some of you on Friday. Ciao for now.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.